Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be guiding you guys through 3 mistakes I've seen in terms of coaching the squat and some points of performance you can kind of look at to give a correction or give a cue. But before we get started, I would love your support by subscribing to the channel, turning on the notifications bell, and if you haven't, let me know what you're looking forward to seeing most of, whether it's tutorials, workouts, the mobility, or even some feedback or reviews. Before we get started, also, I'm going to mention that if you're looking for a shoe to squat in, the GoRuck is the ballistic trainer is the best shoe to squat in. I've tried out squatting, snatching, clean and jerking, deadlifting, running, rucking. It is my go-to shoe. If you're looking for a shoe that's going to be most beneficial for you, I highly recommend checking it out. The link is below and you can use code GOMARGO and they'll give you 10% off of your order. I appreciate all your support on the channel, and also all the affiliate links below help me be able to do more of these videos and to be able to provide other tutorials for you guys in the future. So any questions, please feel free to let me know. Now let's get started. The first mistake we're going to be talking about is going to be specific to the hips. It's essentially going to be that butt going back or breaking at the hip first before you actually go down to the squat. So I'm going to demonstrate. I have a PVC pipe here that you guys can check out. I'm just going to use this instead of a barbell. But if I have the barbell placed on my back, I'm going to demonstrate this. And I just want you guys to kind of notice. I'm going to go kind of slow. If I'm breaking at the hip, pushing my butt back first, then squatting into that position, notice that as I push my butt back, that chest goes forward, that load goes forward. So if you have a lot of weight on your barbell, say you're squatting 200, 300, 400 pounds, depending on what you're lifting, that load is gonna pitch you forward. So if I hinge at the hips, butt goes back first, then I descend to that squat, I'm gonna have that load forward of the frontal plane. Think of the frontal plane as your body being cut into half, right? So the front and the back, or anterior, posterior, right? And if I break at my hip first, that load is then going to be going forward to that frontal plane, then I'm squatting, and it's going to be really hard to get out of that bottom of the squat. This will lead to a second issue or a second problem you want to avoid while squatting. I'll touch base there a little bit later. But the focus and the fix of that squat position, that squat mistake is, if I'm here and I've seen an athlete hinge from the hips first, I want to focus on telling them, think of dropping the butt straight down while you push the knees out versus breaking at the hip or hinging at the hip, then going down. So again, we want to avoid this, right, as a squat. If I push my butt back, avoid that. The cue or the correction, I would say, would be to push the butt straight down or drop the butt straight down as you go into that squat, keeping that load more stacked on the shoulders, torso, and then even your midfoot. All right, now this is going to lead to the second fault. Again, if you initiate that with a hip back, this could lead to this second fault, or you just see the second fault right off the bat. It's gonna look like this. I'm not gonna say it directly. I want you guys to kind of look and see. All right, so from the side, I squat, don't listen to the knees. My butt kind of comes up, or hips come up first, then my chest follows, almost like an RDL in the sense where my hips are already extended, and then my torso and my shoulders have to follow along. So this is where the hips rise first, or the butt rises first. Problem with this is if I get stuck, right, if I don't drop back down, that load may try to want to go over the head and neck, which you definitely do not want. So in this position, if I feel like the butt is shooting up and forward, I want to think of bringing my hips back underneath. So I might have to drop them, focus on bringing them back underneath my shoulders, and then scooping them up and under. So again, if you look at that frontal plane, if the butt is coming up first, I want to think of bringing my hips back underneath, closer to my torso and my shoulders, and then I want to elevate or stand. If you're having this problem happening a lot, especially at lighter loads, I recommend dropping that load even lighter to just a barbell, and you can practice and focus on that technique with that lighter load. If you're giving the heavier loads and it's happening again, then again, drop a little bit of load and work and drill that technique. If you've created a habit, it's going to be hard because it will put you in a position where you have a lot of load in your neck and traps as you come out of that squat. So very important that you scoop your hips under so you can get your hips stacked back underneath those shoulders. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So again, that's the second mistake you want to avoid, especially with the squats. So first one was that hip hinge or hip initiation of the movement. That again could lead to the second one, which was the butt and hips rising first. Again, they might not always happen side by side, but it is an issue. The third and final one for today, we're gonna be going over the stance position. Now, I'm just gonna note, there is not a bad thing to have a narrow stance if you have a specific purpose for it. I will say that I've squatted narrow to build up my quad strength, and it has been definitely beneficial for myself. But if you're trying to do a traditional squat with a feet outside your shoulders or feet underneath your shoulders, this could be an issue. In terms of you're having your feet too narrow, So I'm gonna show you guys, in terms of correct positioning, I like to have my feet underneath or slightly outside my shoulders, toes turned out. The reason for this is it creates enough space as I go into that squat position, right? So from a frontal position, I have enough space at the bottom for my hips to sit in. I have wider hips, so I need enough space down there. If my stance is very narrow and I go to squat and I don't have enough space for my hips to sit in, then in this position, one issue that may arise, that torso collapsing forward, chest and belly coming to your thigh. Now again, if you find that this is pitching you forward a lot, one of the cues you could use be to open up the stance. Again, this is gonna be dependent on a lot of different things. Every person's gonna have a different position. Your feet, dependent on your femurs, dependent on your hips, dependent on your shoulders. So this is a guide to start with. Now again, when I say feet underneath the shoulders, toes turned out, that is a guide to start with. There may be a little bit of tweak and ebb and flow. But if you find yourself having a hard time getting to that bottom position, or you feel like a pinching in the hip, and you're getting down the bottom position, one thing to correct it would be widening that stance. So just open up your stance. And you don't have to go wide, right? If this is your foot position, maybe you go out half an inch, or quarter of an inch. Making small tweaks and ebbs and changes to your stance position could impact the setup position and the execution of your squat. So those are three kind of common mistakes I've seen as a coach. And when I've worked with thousands of people over the world, there's been a variety of different things that I've seen. These are just three of the common mistakes. I will share another video with some other three common mistakes. I saw a question pop up, very long torso, short legs, especially my lower legs. Any tips? That kind of went away really quickly. But leave the comment below. Again, if I'm not seeing this right now, it popped up away, so I'm sorry about that. But leave another comment after this video ends and I'll answer it. The comments that come up during the live are very quick and I don't see them very long, so hopefully I can answer that afterwards. But again, I'll be sharing another video with some of three other tips that I've seen. Again, these are common mistakes I've seen and ways to avoid them or ways to correct them if you're dealing with them yourself or if you're a coach and you're trying to correct someone else. Hopefully you guys found this beneficial. I appreciate the support and for tuning in. If you're looking forward for more, just leave a comment below. Again, feel free to turn on the notifications bell and subscribe. And any way to support me is something I'm very grateful for. So a huge thank you to you all. And again, if you're looking for those shoes, click the link below and use the code GOMARGO and that will help you get a pair of shoes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, C. Shaw. Take care and have a great weekend.